All right. So today we are going to talk about environment setup. Environment setup. So today we are going to set up our local computer for coding. In the last class we are using an online code editor, but today we are going to be working on our computer locally. So we don't have to be connected to the internet to start coding. You can just turn on your computer, start coding, and start connecting to the internet. So that's what we're going to be doing today. All right. So if you check your class, if you go to the classroom and check for today's lecture, you will see that I have a link to two. Come, let me bring them. All right. So this is the classroom. Now, if you check today's lecture, you see these are the links to the software that we need to download. The software that we need to download. Because for us to start coding locally, we need two softwares. We need two softwares. So one of them is our code editor. So this code editor will help us write our code. Then after writing our code, we want to test that code. So to test the code, we also need a browser. So I think most of you already have a browser. So some of you are accessing this live meeting with a browser. So what we need to download is a code editor. And if you go to the classroom lecture, you will see that in lecture 4 environment setup, I have a link to the code editor and I have a link to Chrome browser. So if you don't have a browser on your computer, you can click on this link to download the Chrome browser. But if you already have that, you can just follow this link to download the VS Code. Please turn off your mic, please.
Hello?
Yeah, turn off your mic, please. Or you have a question?
Okay, it's on now.
Yeah.
You remember the last time you asked us to download the Visual Studio Code?
Yes, yes. I'm only repeating this for those that were not in the class. If you already download it, it's okay.
Okay, I've downloaded it. Yes.
All right. So for those of you that haven't downloaded it, just click on the link. If you click on the link, it will take you to the website. Then you will see download for, then you will see operating system. I'm using Windows, as I'm saying download for Windows. So when you click this link, it's going to download VS Code for you. So it should say thank you for downloading VS Code, and you need to wait for some seconds and the downloading will start. Just as you can see here, it's already downloading. All right. So while it's downloading, let me make some explanations. So what we are going to be doing is this. After downloading the
Do we
VS,
install it?
yes, don't install it yet. Don't install it yet. We are going to install it together. Don't worry. I'm just explaining how it's going to work. So when we are done installing the Visual Studio Code, this Visual Studio Code will help us to create and manage files. You understand? That's the work of this code editor. So with this code editor, we can we can create files. We can create files and folder. We can write code, and I think with our Visual Studio Code, we can also use it to create a static server. So this static server is what we use to serve our website on this. That is what we use to run our website on the server. Understand? So with the Visual Studio Code, we should be able to create a static server, create files and folder, and also write our code. Then after writing the code, the next thing we want to do is after writing the code and running it in this server, the next thing we'll do now is to use this browser, to use the browser to access our server. So this will be our browser. So with this browser, we can use it to access our server. So this server that was created there, we can use the browser to access the server. So when we access that server, we can now go through all the files and folder that were created inside that server. So that's basically how we are going to work with these two softwares. This one is to write code, create a static server and folder, while this other one is to access what we have inside the server after creating the server with this guy here. So that's basically how it's going to work. So let's go through the installation process. Let me check how many percentage now. I think it's almost done. 87, 88, 90. All right, so it's done. So right now I'm done downloading. So just come to your folder. Are you guys here? You see the software VS Code. Can you see it there?
Yes.
Good. So just double click, double tap, just double click it to open. Just double click to open. So when it opens, you are going to see this message here. Have you seen this?
Mine is not.
Just double tap it. It's going to open. And when it opens, you see this dialog box. Now just click on accept. Click on accept and you next. The next thing you do is it will show you this second dialog box. All you need to do is to check all the boxes, check all the ones at the bottom, and leave this particular one. This one that says create desktop, you leave it, then check the other ones. Check the other ones and you next. Then just next, 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 and install. That's all.
Okay, it's now uninstalled.
Yeah. So install, click on install, and that's it. But I don't want to install it. I already have it in my system. So just install and that's all. All right. So for those that are done installing, the next thing we need to do now
Okay.
is to the next thing we need to do now is to create a folder, because before you start building the project, the first thing you want to do is to create a folder for that project. That's what you do. So let's say, for example, I want to build an e-commerce app for someone. What you need to do is to create a folder where you keep the files of that e-commerce project. If I want to build another project, let's say I want to build a company website for someone, you create a separate folder to for that particular project. So all the files and folders you'll be creating will be stored inside those folders. Now the reason for this is so that when you want to host that project, it will be easier for you. All you need to do is just copy that folder to your server. You understand? Just copy that folder to your server and everything will be hosted in your server instead of having those files in different location in your computer. And when you want to host, you start looking for the files and the folder. So instead, keep them inside one folder. So when you want to host, you just move that folder to your online hosting service. So that's how it works. So that's what I want to do first. You create a folder for that project. So let's do that now. So I'll come back to my code editor, my file manager or Windows Explorer. Just come to your file manager on Windows Explorer. I will create a folder inside my desktop. So just come to your desktop and create a folder there. Okay, so now let's create a folder. So to create a folder, you just right click, go to your desktop, and you will see this icon at the top here. You can use this icon to create a folder, or if you don't want to use this icon, you can use the shortcut key Control Shift N. If I open my mouse and you see the shortcut key, look at it here. You will see Control Shift N. Or you can right click here, come to new, and you also see folder. So whichever method you want to use. You see that you right click on an empty space, come to new, and you see folder, or you use this shortcut icon here. That's if you have it in your own, or you can use Control Shift N. So if I press Control Shift and N together, you see that it's going to create a new folder for me. So I can call this folder my first website.
You said?
Just call it my first website. I think let me expand so you can see my screen. Alright, so this is it here, my first website. Then when you are done creating the folder, the next thing we need to do now is to load this folder inside VS Code. That's the next thing we need to do, to load the folder inside VS Code. So how do we load this folder inside VS Code? Very easy. All you have to do is just right click on the folder. When you right click on the folder, you will see open with code. You are going to see this open with code. So just click on open with code and just wait for it to open with VS Code. So right now, as you can see, the project is opened in VS Code. So another way to do this is using the manual method. Let me show you. So just go to your computer and look for VS Code, Visual Studio Code. It's called VS Code, Visual Studio Code. Just go to your computer, look for Visual Studio Code and open it. So all you need to do now is to come to File. If you come to File, you will see Open Folder. Click on Open Folder. When you click on Open Folder, it will show you your file explorer. Just locate where you created that folder. So I created mine in desktop and look at it here, my first website. I will click on it, my first website folder, and I will say select folder. Immediately you do that, the VS Code is going to reboot and open that folder inside VS Code for you. So look at it here. So for those of you that have opened, can you see your folder name here? Can you
Because
see it here?
you are talking to people
Yeah,
that
it's there. It's there.
Yes, yes, people that have installed, that's what I'm
It's
talking.
there.
All right.
It's there.
So, all right. So for those of you that have this folder here, when you see your folder name here, it means you have installed VS Code. It means, sorry, it means you have loaded your folder to VS Code. That's what it means. So it means your folder is successfully loaded to VS Code. But if you don't see your folder name here, it means you are doing something wrong. Try to load your folder here. So right here, we can work on this folder inside VS Code. We don't have to go to our file explorer. We can do whatever I want to do to this folder inside here. So as you can see, if I put my mouse on top of the folder, you see I have some icons here. When I click this one, it means I want to create a new file. And when I click this one, it means I want to create a new folder. Just have these two at the back of your mind. Don't worry about these other ones. Don't worry about these two for now. But just know that this one is to create a new file. If I hover on it, you'll see it there, new file. And if I put my mouse here, you'll see new folder. So this one is for file and this one is for a folder. All right, so let's talk about the other parts of the software. So you can see here that we have this different icon here. Now this one means you want to see your files and folders. So if I click this, you see it's opening my folder. This is my first website folder. Then if I click here, it means I want to search for something. I want to search for a word inside my project. You understand? Then you don't have to worry about these two for now. We are just going to talk about 1, 2, and 3. So this one is called Explorer, which is used to check for your files, the files you have in your folder. Then this one is used to search through your folder. And this one is used for extension. This one is for extension. This one is for extension. Now, what is extension? Extension is used to extend the functionality of your Visual Studio Code. So let's say, for example, you need a certain feature in your Visual Studio Code. You can do that through what? Extension. Let's say, for example, you want something that will autocorrect whenever you are writing code. You can find that inside your Visual Studio Code. Or you need like a theme. You want to change the theme or the color of your Visual Studio Code. You can do that from what? Extension. Just go to extension and look for a particular thing that you like, and you can install it and start using it. All right. So before we start creating files, let's work on extensions. So we need some extension before we start coding. One of the extensions we need is called Live Server. So just come here and type Live Server. So when you type Live Server, you are going to see this Live Server here. Look at it, with which day. Live Server by with which day. So this is the one you install. You know there are other ones, so don't install the wrong one. Make sure you are installing this one by with which day. When you see this one, you click on install. So it will start installing.
Live server by what?
With which day? With which day? With which day? Look at it here. With which date?
Okay. Yes.
So install it. Now, as you can see, mine is installed. Immediately it's installed, you will see disabled and uninstalled. That's how you know that it has been installed.
Mine is installing.
All right. So while it's installing, for those of you that have installed it, you can now close it from here. Look at this up icon here, this X icon. You can close it. So after closing it, we come back to Explorer where we see our file, so we can see our folder. Mind you, this one is for extension and this is Explorer where we see our folder. Okay, so immediately you install Live Server, if you come to the bottom right of your computer, you will see Go Live under the bottom right of the VS Code. You will see Go Live. But for those of you that have not installed, you will not see it. So if you have installed Live Server, you are going to see this Go Live. Now, when you click on this Go Live, it's going to start a server for you. It's going to start a server automatically for you. All right. So now let's create a simple file that we are going to launch on our server. So remember I told you to create a file, use this icon here. So I'll click this icon and let's call this index.html. Mind you, it's an HTML file. We're working with HTML now, so we'll create an HTML file. So we'll say index.html.
Okay. Index for HTML.
Yeah, index.html. Index.html. Yeah, when you create your index file, you see that it's going to be opened here. So any file you click will be opened in this area. I can click on this X to close it, and if I want to open it again, I'll click on this to open it. So right now here you can type whatever you want to type. I'll say this is my first website content. So that's what I will just put there. This is my first website content. When you are done, you save it. To save it, look, are you seeing this circle here? This circle you are seeing here means it has not been saved. But immediately you save by pressing Ctrl S. Are you see the circle will turn to X, which means you have saved it now. So right now we have saved this. Now how do we run it in our browser? To run it in your browser, all you need to do is to come here and press this Go Live that you have at the bottom here. Just click on Go Live. When you click on Go Live, just wait for it to start and your server will just start running. So you can see it says our server has started and you see my website open automatically, and look at the content here. This is my first website content and this is our server address 127.0.0.1. This is the port number and this is the file we are accessing, which is what index.html. For those of you that attended the class from day one, you should know what this means. This is your IP address. If I open this properly, you see this is your IP address, this is your port number, and this is the endpoint, which is the part you are trying to access in this server. So the content here is what? This is my first website. I can come back to my VS Code and change it. I'll say I am happy, or rather I am excited to create this. And when you save and come back to the browser, if you refresh, you are going to see it. I'm excited to create this. So this is basically how you set up your computer to start writing HTML code. Very easy. So we are done with setting up our environment. So we can start writing code locally without coming online or without connecting our computer to the internet. And install again. I'm actually
My
recording the
question
class.
is okay. Thank you. The process, I think is the process for creating a file or a folder
Yeah.
inside there the same with the first one? Is it the same with the first one?
The process of what?
Creating the first time they were to create a folder. Now that folder they created, the first one.
Okay. What you are saying is that this folder we created here. I'm coming. If the
Yes.
folder we created here is same thing with what we did here.
With this one you're showing with the one inside here now that you can create
All right.
close to
All
my
right.
first
The thing
website.
is, this. This folder that we created here was for us to load it inside here. Are you there? Good. Now, when you load this folder inside VS Code, normally, if I want to create this index.html, what I have to do is to come to this folder. Are you there? And create it inside. But since the folder has been loaded here, I can be creating it directly from VS Code without coming back to this place.
Okay.
You understand? So that's just the reason for loading the folder. So the reason why we are loading this folder inside VS Code is so that we can be creating files and folder inside that folder without having to come to the folder and do it directly from our Windows Explorer.
Okay, so it will not be acting as a single folder that will be housing another
Yes,
folder that will be created.
yes. So you see now we created index.html and automatically it's appearing there. Look at it here. Are you there?
Okay.
Same thing. If I create a folder, let me create
Yeah.
a folder inside here now. So if I create a folder called test, this is a folder called test. If I come back to that, are you seeing now there's a folder there called test?
Yeah.
Can you see it's good? If I move this index inside the test like this, I'll say move. I see now it's now inside the test. And if you come back to this, I see now if I open this test now, you see that the index.html is inside the test. You get it now?
Okay,
Good.
I see.
So it's basically helping us to manage the folder without having to go to our Explorer and be doing whatever I want to do with that folder.
Okay. Is there a limited number of folders you can create inside the
No. You can create as much as you want to create. As much files and folders you want to create, you can. As long as you have enough memory, as long as your computer has enough memory for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
All right. Any other question?
So how can you access the server?
I think I have 1 minute more. You said what?
How can you access the server?
All right. To access the server,
Like,
first of all, to access the server, this is how you access the server. You click on this your go live button here. This go live button. Or if you don't want to do that, you can come to your file. Right click on the file and you say open with live server. This is another way to do that. Just right click on the folder, the file that you want to see on your browser, and say open with live server. So immediately you do that, automatically your browser will open. The browser will open automatically. You will see the address of the server. This is the address of the server. Any other question?
Okay, my question is okay. I think. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Ask.
Yeah.
My question is actually about the server.
Okay.
We are the ones to create an IP for the IP address. Are we to create the IP address for our own work, or I don't know? How do we?
No. No, one thing you should notice that. No, one thing.
I'll get the server address.
Good. One thing you should know that is that our computer has something called the local IP. Are you there? And this local IP address is usually 127.0.0.1. This is the local IP address of our computer system.
Every computer system.
Yeah.
Has one local IP.
Yes, which is 127. I know you might be confused because I told you that IP address has to be unique.
Yeah.
Good. Now the reason is that this IP address is not an internet address. It's only for your local computer.
Okay.
I don't know if you understand. So it's only for your local computer. So everything you do starts in the computer and ends in the computer.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not connected to a network. That's why it's called local IP. It's not connected to any network. So it's just for that computer.
Okay.
So any server you create inside will always be 127.0.0.1. So when we start that server immediately, remember I told you guys that port is where we host our application. So usually I said port number is where we host our application. That is a different port is just like separate layer where we host our application. So I can host my application. Okay, let me give you an example. So let's say for example, this is my server. I might have different ports in this server. Let's say I can be building a website in this port. I can be building an application in this port. I can be building another website in this port. I don't know if you understand. And this port might be 8080. This port might be 5500. This port might be 3000. I don't know if you understand. So for me to access this application that I'm building here, what I will do is this. I'm going to type if I want to access this application I'm
Not
building
seeing
here,
it.
you are not seeing my screen.
No.
Yeah, that is what I want to ask. We are not seeing anything.
Oh, okay, I'm coming. So can you see my screen now?
Yes,
Yeah,
sir.
it's okay.
All right. So like I was saying, I said your local IP address is usually 127.0.0.1. You understand? This is usually your local IP address. And inside your local IP, you can have different ports. This port is where you host your application. So I can be hosting an e-commerce application at 8080 if I let me label there. So I can say this 8080 is for my e-shop application. Then maybe I'm building a wallet mobile app here. Then this one can be for my uh, company website. I'm building a company website here. So this is how you can host different ports for different applications and run them at the same time. So if I want to access this one, this eShop, if I want to access this eShop, this is how I'm going to type the IP address. It's going to be HTTP, which is the source, the protocol. Remember, we talked about protocol. You start with the protocol first. Then the next thing is the IP address, which is what this one here. So I'll say 127.0.0.1. Then I'll say column the port number. So if I want to access this application, I'm going to use 8080. If I want to access this wallet, I will use 5500. Sorry, 5500. If I want to access this company website I'm building, I will use what? 3000. I don't know if you understand.
Hello, sir.
Yeah, you get it now.
Yes, but those names now that you're giving to them, how did you just generate the names?
I'm just labeling them now so that we can remember. I said this port 8080 is where I'm putting my eShop application. 550 is where I'm building my wallet application. While 3000 is where I'm building my company application. You understand? So if I want to access this one now, if I want to access this my eShop, which means I'm using what 8080. If I want to access my wallet app, I will be using what 550. I don't know if you understand me now.
Yes, but
Good. So if you come
yes,
here, let's use this example. Let's use this one now. So right now, if I close this my server, now let me run it again. To run this server, I will just come here and right click and I'll say open with live server. If I open with live server, look at the bottom here. Let's go back to VS Code first. So look at the bottom here. What number are you seeing there?
I'm saying 5500.
Good. It means this application that I'm running now is running on port 5500. I don't know if you understand.
Okay.
So the file I want to access in this port is what? Index.html. How am I going to type it? Now I'll come to my browser now. Now here my browser, I'm going to start http column slash slash 127.0.0.1. Then what is the port number?
Okay, 5500.
5500. Then slash what we want to access. What are we accessing? Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
What are we accessing? Index.html. That is this file there.
Index.
Yes,
Yeah.
we are trying to access this file index.html. So we'll add it. So I'll come back and I'll say slash index.html. So if I enter, I see now it's open. To prove that this is the file that is open, if I come back and change the content, so let me remove what is here and say this is the index file. If I save it, make sure you save. Remember to save Control S. When you change anything, save before you go and refresh. Then come back to my browser. Now let me refresh it. If I refresh, you see we get this is the index file. Is it clear now?
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's how it works. Any other question?
Yeah, this is what I want to ask. When you were when you went to start writing your code,
Yeah.
I thought there is a way you create all the head, this thing, like a boilerplate,
Don't
yes.
worry, don't worry, don't worry. We'll come to that. Don't worry, we'll
Okay,
come to that.
okay,
Are you
okay.
in the classroom?
Me?
Do you have the classroom link?
Yeah, yeah, I have.
Good. Did you see the topic of today?
Actually, I didn't open it because I
All
was
right. So
actually.
if you open it, you see that the topic of today is environment setup. We are just focusing on setting up your environment so that you can start
Environment.
writing code. So we
Yeah,
are not really doing HTML today.
all right,
Yeah.
fine. Thank you.
Yeah. Any other question?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, I can hear you.
So this is why you were talking about 5 parts that day that we need to
Yes. Yes.
so
Yeah. Yeah.
all these parts to get to that file.
Yes, all the paths to get to that file will be here. So, for example, if this index of HTML were to be in a folder called pages, what I will now write is pages slash index.html. Just to say that this index.html is inside a folder called what? Pages. You understand now? Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was why I spent time explaining 5 parts to you guys that very day.
Okay, okay.
Yeah. So any other question? All right. So in the absence of no question, I think we are going to stop here. So